I love my wife. That was the one thing I never questioned. I loved her when we were broke, when we were young, when we had nothing but each other. I loved her when we built our life together, when we had our kids, when we laughed over burnt dinners and inside jokes. I loved her when she was exhausted from work, when she was stressed, when she was distant. I thought that was what love was, choosing someone even when things weren't perfect, even when they pulled away. So, when Lisa said she had to go to Chicago for work, I didn't think much of it. A last-minute conference, she said. 3 days. She packed light, kissed me on the cheek, told the kids she'd bring them souvenirs, and left. That was it. The first night she didn't call. The second night she sent a short text. Super busy, talk tomorrow. The third night I called her. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Same thing. Texted. Nothing. And that's when the thought hit me, the kind of thought that crawls into your brain like a splinter and won't come out. It didn't make sense. Lisa wasn't the type to ignore us. She wasn't careless. She always made time, even when she was busy. I sat on the couch, staring at my phone, running through every possibility. And then Emily, our daughter, curled up next to me and said, "We should go see Mommy." It was so innocent, so pure, and the second she said it, it clicked. Yes, that was exactly what we should do. So I made the plan. I booked the flights, packed the kids' bags, told them we were going on an adventure. Lisa had no idea. I pictured her face lighting up when she saw us. Maybe she'd even tear up. Maybe this was exactly what she needed, a reminder that no matter how busy life got, she had a family who loved her. We landed in Chicago late at night. I didn't text her. I wanted the surprise to be real. The kids were half asleep as we took a cab to her hotel, a sleek high-rise in the middle of downtown. I told the receptionist we were here for Lisa Carter's room, and that's when everything started to feel wrong. The receptionist frowned, typed something, then looked up at me, hesitant. "I'm sorry, sir, there's no Lisa Carter checked in here." I felt my stomach drop. That's not possible. She told me she was staying here for work. Another few keystrokes, a shake of the head. We don't have anyone by that name. I pulled out my phone, checked our texts, scrolled up. She had never actually told me the name of the hotel, just said she'd be in Chicago. A strange, sharp feeling ran through me, a warning bell, but I pushed it down. Maybe there was a mix-up. Maybe she was in a different hotel. Maybe. I called her again. Straight to voicemail. I looked at the kids, tired and excited, waiting for their mom. I took a breath. "All right," I said, forcing a smile. "Let's go find Mommy." Chicago at night had a hum to it, cars rushing past, neon lights flickering, people moving in and out of bars, laughing, shouting. The kids were half asleep in the cab as I scrolled through my messages again, looking for anything, any clue I had missed. Lisa had said she'd be busy. She had sent pictures, selfies in a conference room, a blurry shot of her dinner. But I zoomed in now, really looking, the wine glass in the background, the edge of a sleeve that wasn't hers. I felt my pulse in my throat. "Hey, buddy," I said to the cab driver, my voice steady. "You know any other hotels nearby? Business hotels?" He nodded. "Plenty. What kind of place are we talking?" I hesitated. "Something nice, but not over the top." He rattled off a few names, and I picked one at random. We pulled up to the next hotel, another sleek high-rise. I left the kids in the cab with the driver and jogged inside. I walked straight to the desk. "Lisa Carter," I said, keeping my voice even. "She should be checked in." The receptionist barely looked up, typed, and then nodded. "Yes, she is." I felt my stomach clench. "Room number?" I asked. "I can't give out that information, sir." I took a breath. "Can you call up to her room? Tell her her husband and kids are here?" A slight pause, then she picked up the phone and dialed. I watched her face as it rang once, twice, 3 times. No answer. "She's not picking up," she said, glancing at me now, curious. "Would you like to leave a message?" I exhaled through my nose. "No, that's all right." I turned and walked back out to the cab, my mind racing. "Did we find Mommy?" Emily asked, rubbing her eyes. I swallowed. "Not yet, sweetheart. But we will." I paid the driver and checked us into a hotel a block away, tucking the kids into bed, telling them Mommy would be so happy to see us in the morning. And then, when I was sure they were asleep, I stepped into the hallway and called Lisa again. Voicemail. I clenched my jaw, then opened my laptop. If she was checked in, maybe I could figure something out. I searched the hotel, looked at pictures of the bar, the restaurant. I checked social media, scrolling, searching. And then I saw it, a photo tagged at her hotel. Not of Lisa, but of him. David Sinclair? A name I knew. A name that sent a slow, sick heat through my chest. Her boss. Her charming, newly divorced, always flirting boss. In the photo, he was at the hotel bar, laughing, drink in hand, and behind him, blurred but unmistakable, Lisa. I stared at it for a long time. My ears rang. Then I closed the laptop, stood up, and grabbed my keycard. Time to go find my wife. I left the hotel room quietly, pulling the door shut behind me. The hallway was empty, silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. My mind felt like a freight train on fire, racing too fast, ready to crash. David Sinclair, of all people. Lisa had always said he was annoying, that he made too many jokes, that he thought he was charming but wasn't. She rolled her eyes whenever she talked about him. And now, she was here with him in his hotel. I took the elevator down, my hands clenched into fists, my breath steady. The hotel lobby was quiet at this hour, a few business travelers lingering, a couple dressed for a night out, waiting for their car. The bar was visible from the entrance, and I spotted the bartender wiping down glasses, a few guests chatting softly. I didn't see Lisa. I didn't see David. But I wasn't leaving without answers. I approached the bar, leaning in casually, pretending I belonged here. "Hey man," I said to the bartender, nodding. "I'm supposed to be meeting my wife here, but I think I just missed her. Brown hair, about this tall, probably with some business types." The bartender barely hesitated. "Oh yeah, I saw her earlier with some guy." I forced a smile. "Tall, blonde, expensive suit?" "Yeah, sounds about right. They were here a while. Got pretty cozy." My stomach twisted. "Are they still here?" The bartender shook his head. "Nah, they left about an hour ago." "Left together?" He paused, then lowered his voice like he could sense something was off. "Man, I don't know your situation, but if you're looking for them, they went upstairs." Everything inside me went ice cold. Upstairs to a room. I gripped the edge of the bar so hard my fingers ached. The bartender gave me a cautious look, like he knew exactly what I was realizing, like he'd seen this before. I forced out a breath, nodded. "Thanks," then turned and walked to the elevator. I didn't know what I was going to do when I got up there. I just knew I needed to see it with my own eyes. I stepped into the elevator, my pulse hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. The doors slid shut, trapping me in the silence. My reflection stared back at me in the polished metal, but I barely recognized myself. My jaw was clenched so tight it hurt. My hands trembled as I pressed the button for the highest floors, executive suites, the floor Lisa was on, upstairs with him. I had spent years trusting her, defending her, loving her. And now I was about to walk into something that would change everything. The elevator dinged. The doors slid open. The hallway stretched before me, dimly lit, lined with sleek wooden doors. I walked forward, slow and deliberate. My heart thudded like a war drum. Room 2310. I knew because I had called the front desk earlier, acting like her assistant. "Sorry to bother you," I had said. "Mrs. Carter forgot which room she's in." The receptionist hadn't even hesitated before giving me the number. I stood in front of the door. This was it. I knocked 3 times, hard. Silence. Then movement. A shadow crossed under the door. A pause. Then Lisa's voice, muffled but unmistakable. "Who is it?" I couldn't breathe. I swallowed the lump in my throat and forced my voice to stay steady. Open the door, Lisa. Silence again. Longer this time. Then a whisper, not from her, a man's voice. David. Lisa hissed something under her breath. I heard shuffling, panic, then nothing. I knocked again, louder this time. Lisa, open the door. Jason. Her voice was high-pitched, forced. What are you doing here? What do you think? I paused. Then the door unlocked. It didn't open all the way, just a sliver, just enough for me to see her face, her wide eyes, the flush on her cheeks. Her hair was messy. She was wearing a hotel robe. And I knew. She didn't have to say anything. I pushed the door open before she could stop me. And there he was, David Sinclair, standing in the middle of the room, shirt half-buttoned, hair disheveled. He froze when he saw me, like a deer caught in headlights. The room smelled like expensive cologne and cheap betrayal. Lisa grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. Jason, I can explain. I turned to her so slowly it made her flinch. Explain? My voice was quiet, too quiet. Go ahead, Lisa. Explain this. She opened her mouth, then shut it again. David, the smug bastard, took a step forward, hands raised like he thought I was about to throw a punch. Look, man, he started. I think we should just... I turned to him so fast that he stepped back. Shut up. Lisa grabbed my arm again, her voice shaking. Jason, please. Let's just talk. I yanked my arm away and then I laughed. I actually laughed. Because I had spent years loving this woman, defending her, trusting her. And now? Now she was standing in a hotel room, half-dressed, next to her boss, telling me to talk? I took a step back, shaking my head. My whole body felt like it was burning from the inside out. Lisa reached for me again. Baby, please. I held up a hand. Don't. And then I turned and walked out. I didn't look back. I stepped into the hallway, my whole body on fire, but not from rage. No. This was something deeper, something worse. I felt humiliated. Every piece of trust, every moment I had spent believing in Lisa, loving her, fighting for her, gone, just like that. The door didn't open behind me. She didn't come running after me. That told me everything I needed to know. I forced my feet forward. One step, then another, barely registering where I was going. The elevator felt 100 miles away. My hands shook as I pressed the button. The silver doors reflected the wreckage in my face. I thought of our kids, Emily and Noah, sleeping soundly in the hotel room just a few blocks away, dreaming about the perfect surprise for their mother. The mother who was too busy sneaking around with her boss to care. I gritted my teeth so hard my jaw ached. The elevator doors slid open. I stepped inside, punched the button for the lobby. The doors started closing, and then I saw her. Lisa. She had thrown on a dress, her hair still messy, her face pale. She was running toward the elevator barefoot, like she had just realized what was happening. Jason, wait! She shouted. I watched her sprint toward me, then I reached out and pressed the closed doors button. She gasped, her fingers just missing the doors as they slammed shut. For the first time in years I had control. For the first time, I shut her out. The elevator sank toward the lobby, smooth and silent, while Lisa was left standing behind, exactly where she belonged. I stepped out of the elevator into the dimly lit lobby. My pulse was a steady roar in my ears. The receptionist barely glanced at me, unaware that my entire world had just collapsed. Upstairs, I walked straight out the front doors into the cold night air. It hit me like a slap, shocking and sharp. But I welcomed it. Anything to clear my head. Lisa was probably still upstairs, panicking, maybe yelling at David, maybe trying to come up with some pathetic excuse before running after me. I wasn't waiting. I wasn't playing her game. I pulled out my phone, opened our messages. For years, our chats were filled with normal husband and wife things, grocery lists, school reminders, the occasional, love you, when we still meant it. I stared at her last message. Super busy, talk tomorrow. I smirked, then I started typing. Me, don't bother coming home. I hit send. 3 dots appeared immediately. She was typing. Then they stopped. Then started again. Stopped. Good. Let her sit with that. Let her feel 1/10 of what I was feeling right now. I turned toward the street, running my hands through my hair, trying to think. The kids. They were still at the hotel. My hotel. A few blocks away. That was my next move. Then I started walking. Not fast. Not slow. Just steady. My hands were still shaking. Not with rage. Not even with heartbreak. With clarity. Because for the first time since this nightmare started, I knew exactly what I had to do. I reached the hotel, swiped my key card, and stepped inside. The lobby was quiet. The night staff barely looking up as I walked past. Everything felt too normal, like the world hadn't just shattered around me. Up the elevator, down the hall. Room 914. I slid the key into the lock and pushed the door open slowly. The kids were still asleep. Noah had kicked off his blanket, one arm draped over his stuffed dinosaur. Emily was curled up, breathing softly. I stood there for a long moment, just watching them. Lisa had no idea what she had just thrown away. I had spent the last decade making sure our family was solid, that no matter what stresses life threw at us, we were strong. And for what? For her to sneak off with David Sinclair in some overpriced hotel? My jaw clenched, but I forced myself to breathe. This wasn't about her anymore. This was about them. I walked over, tucking the blanket back over Noah, smoothing Emily's hair. And then my phone vibrated. Lisa. I stared at the screen, debating whether to even look. But then a second message popped up. Lisa, Jason, please, just talk to me. Lisa, don't do anything stupid. I actually laughed at that. Stupid? Like what? Flying across the, you said, country to surprise my wife, only to find her shacking up with her boss, because that was her stupidity. I stepped into the bathroom, shutting the door before I responded. Me, you've already done enough talking for the both of us. 3 dots. Then, Lisa, it's not what you think. I gripped the phone so tight I thought it would snap. Not what I think. I had seen it. I had seen her. I had seen him. The panic in her face, the way she scrambled to block the door, the way David stood there, shirt undone, like he had a right to breathe the same air as me. Me, then tell me, Lisa, what exactly is it? A long pause. Lisa, please, just come back. Let's talk. I exhaled slowly. She still thought she could fix this. She thought she could spin some bullshit excuse, cry a little, make me believe that what I saw wasn't real. I smiled bitterly, staring at the screen, then typed the only thing that mattered. Me, I'm taking the kids home. You can explain this to them when you get back. Send. Silence. No dots. No reply. I stared at my reflection in the mirror, and for the first time all night, I felt completely in control. I didn't sleep. I just lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft breaths of my kids. The anger had settled into something sharper now, a decision. Lisa still hadn't responded. No call. No text. Nothing. That told me everything. If she had anything to say that wasn't a lie, she would have said it. If there was a single excuse, a single attempt to fix this, she would have tried. Instead, she was silent, because she knew. She knew there was no coming back from this. By 5 a.m., I was done waiting. I quietly packed up the kids' things, stuffing their clothes into their little suitcases. Emily stirred when I zipped hers up, blinking sleepily. Daddy? Shh, I whispered, brushing her hair back. Go back to sleep, sweetheart. She yawned and curled back up. Noah didn't even move. By 6 a.m., I had everything ready, and then my phone buzzed. Lisa. I just stared at it, the screen lighting up with her name, vibrating against the nightstand like it had something important to say. I let it ring. Then it stopped. A few seconds later, a voicemail popped up. I didn't want to listen. I didn't want to hear her voice, the fake sadness, the damage control. But I hit play anyway. First silence, then a shaky breath. Jason, Her voice broke for a second. Please, just talk to me, please. I paused. I made a mistake, okay? I messed up, but it's not what you think. Just please don't do this. I closed my eyes, gripping the phone. Don't do this? She was acting like I was the one breaking up this family, like I was the one who destroyed everything. I deleted the voicemail, then I texted her. We're leaving. You can fly home whenever you're done with your business trip. Delivered. Then DTS. Then gone. I slipped the phone into my pocket and gently shook Emily awake. Hey, sweetheart, I whispered. Time to get up. We're going home. She blinked up at me, confused. What about Mommy? I smiled, even though it hurt. She's staying a little longer. Emily frowned but nodded, rubbing her eyes. I picked up Noah, still half asleep, and carried him to the door. One last look around the room. One last deep breath, and then we walked out of the hotel, out of her, and head home. The flight home felt unreal. Emily sat quietly next to me, flipping through the in-flight magazine, her little face scrunched in thought. Noah was still groggy, curled up with his stuffed dinosaur, drooling on my sleeve. Lisa hadn't called again. Hadn't texted. Nothing. And that silence, that was the part that killed me the most. Not the cheating. Not the betrayal. Not even walking into that hotel room and seeing David half-dressed in front of my wife. It was the fact that she wasn't fighting for us. That was how I knew she had been gone long before I found out. The landing was smooth. The kids stretched, yawned, shuffled through the terminal like little zombies. I hailed a cab, loaded the bags, gave the driver our address, and as we pulled away from the airport, it hit me. I was going home to a house that wasn't ours anymore. Sure, my name was on the mortgage, my stuff was still there, my kids' toys, their drawings on the fridge, the couch where Lisa and I used to sit and watch terrible TV shows together. But the moment she let him in, she burned it all to the ground. I sat back, rubbing my face, exhaling slowly. Emily watched me. She was too smart for her own good. Daddy? Yeah, sweetheart? Did Mommy do something bad? I nearly choked. She said it so innocently, like she had just felt something was wrong. I forced a smile, reaching over to squeeze her hand. Don't worry about that, okay? Everything's going to be fine. It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the full truth either. Because fine wasn't the right word. It was just going to be different. By the time we pulled into the driveway, the sky was soft with morning light. Everything looked the same, our house, the porch, the flower bed Lisa always forgot to water. But it wasn't the same. It would never be the same again. I carried Noah inside, setting him down gently on the couch. Emily wandered toward the kitchen, like she was waiting for something, waiting for her mom to walk in, waiting for breakfast to magically appear like it always did. But Lisa wasn't here. And she wasn't coming. I set the suitcases down and grabbed my phone. Still nothing from her. Good. I walked to the bedroom, opened the closet. Lisa's clothes hung there, neat and untouched, like she hadn't just ripped our entire life apart. I stared at them for a long moment, something cold settling in my stomach. Then I grabbed a suitcase and started packing her things, shirts, dresses, shoes, the stupid silk robe she probably wore last night when she thought I'd never find out. It all went into the suitcase. I didn't touch our wedding photos. Those weren't hers anymore. I was halfway through when my phone finally buzzed. Lisa. Lisa, Jason, I'm coming home. Please don't do anything rash. Rash? I actually laughed. She was the one who made a choice that blew up our family, and now she was worried about me acting irrationally? I didn't respond. Instead, I zipped up the suitcase and dragged it to the front door. Emily peeked around the corner. What are you doing, Daddy? I crouched down, looking her in the eye. She deserved the truth. Mommy's going to stay somewhere else for a while. Emily blinked, considering it. Because she was bad? I hesitated, then I said, because she made a bad choice. She nodded like that made sense. Okay. Then she turned and went to watch cartoons. She accepted it, because kids always know the truth before you tell them. An hour later, Lisa's car pulled into the driveway. I stood by the door, arms crossed, watching her step out. She looked like a mess, eyes red, face pale, hair pulled back like she hadn't slept. Good. She walked up the steps, stopping when she saw the suitcase. Her mouth parted, her eyes flicking to me, searching for any sign of weakness. She wouldn't find it. You said? Find any? You're not staying here, I said, my voice steady. Jason, please. No. I pointed at the suitcase. You can pick up the rest of your things later. Her face twisted. You're seriously kicking me out? I laughed, short and cold. You left a long time ago, Lisa. I'm just making it official. Her lip trembled. We have a family. No. I have a family. You have David Sinclair. She flinched like I'd slapped her. For a second, I thought she'd fight harder. Thought she'd cry, beg, scream. But instead, she nodded. She nodded like she had already accepted this too. She picked up the suitcase, gripping the handle so tight her knuckles went white. Can I at least say goodbye to the kids? They're inside, I said. You can tell them whatever story you want, but don't you dare make me the villain. She swallowed hard. I wouldn't. I didn't believe her, but I let her inside anyway. She hugged them, whispered things. Emily frowned, asked her questions, but Lisa didn't look at me again. 5 minutes later, she walked out the door. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I felt free.